Wednesday, October 8, 2025, you are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope your week is starting strong. I hope you, your family, your friends, you're all staying strong and you're all staying healthy right now. And I don't know where it is that you're listening from right now. I know that the Dose has listeners literally all over the world, but I am here in Colorado. And I will say this, it is starting to feel like fall here in Colorado. The nights are cooler. The air is crisp. The leaves are falling. The NBA and NHL are beginning. Football is here and rolling. The Colorado Rockies have been in Cancun for a month or two. The Las Vegas Raiders are terrible. I'm just saying it is a beautiful time of year right now. Speaking of fall, we are now seeing those MLB playoffs heating up. And I just have to say this one thing really, really quick. Major League Baseball, they're getting some things right. I think they've made some improvements to the game. They've sped it up. They've made it more watchable. And also, Major League Baseball is so incredibly dumb that God himself had to get involved last night. Major League Baseball scheduled a playoff game between the Seattle Mariners and the Detroit Tigers for 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Just why? There's no NFL game that you're trying to avoid. There's not even like a horrible college football game that you're trying to avoid. Why in the world are you scheduling these games in the middle of the day? We've got it again today. I don't understand it. And last night, God was like, Major League Baseball, how stupid are you? Why wouldn't you just put the game in prime time? And then he made it rain. And he pushed the game back. He pushed it into prime time anyway. And I know the phrase gets thrown around a lot, but I've got to say it, and I really mean it. Thank God. Anyways, once the game finally started, we saw the Seattle Mariners rally to take back home field advantage after splitting those first 2 games in Seattle. Hey, the Mariners have played well defensively all series when they were at home, but their bats haven't really helped them that much. Well, they stepped up last night, and they are now back in the driver's seat of this series. Meanwhile, the Toronto Blue Jays went to New York last night, and the Yankees got a much-needed win at home. After making pretty quick work of them in Toronto, I expected the Blue Jays to keep it rolling. The Yankees actually showed some fight, which they really haven't done much when you think about it over the past few years. However, they're going to have to do it again tonight in Game 4, or it's not really going to matter that much. Over in the National League Divisional Round, I have made no bones about the fact that I just don't trust the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes, they have the pitching, they have the defense, but they've had pitching, they've had defense. And their bats were okay, but they've been stung by those okay bats in the postseason. Remember that the only playoff team with fewer home runs in the regular season than the Brewers was the Padres. And they're gone. So the Brewers are hosting the Chicago Cubs, and the Cubs have been pretty hot, and they have that strong lineup. Hey, they can score runs. The Brewers could face a real test here, right? And in each game so far, the Brewers start strong. The Cubs make a run, and then the Brewers' bats actually respond? Huh? Since when? What year is it? Have I been asleep? But it keeps happening. Hey, the Brewers just might be for real. We're going to find out if they can keep that rolling later today. Finally, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies, and many looked at this matchup and thought with the depth of that lineup and that pitching, hey, the Phillies might give the Dodgers some serious problems. Because if the Dodgers have a weakness, it is some of that late relief pitching from the bullpen. Hey, so far, it has not been an issue. The Dodgers are up 2-0 on the road, and now they get to go back to LA, and they can close out Philly there. I know I keep saying it, but it sure feels like that Dodgers all-star lineup is heating up at the right time, and they just might be hitting their stride. I honestly do. I still think the Dodgers are the team to beat. Hey, today on The Dose, the WNBA Finals are rolling. We have a bizarre story in the NFL we're going to discuss. And then we are going to be bringing you our latest Daly Dose Power Rankings.
Daly Dose Power Rankings.
As we are going to be looking at some of the best teams in the NFL and in college football. And we might take a look at some of the worst teams as well. Plus, we have another exciting weekend of college football coming. And our Daly Dose Top 5 just might give us a hint of what we could expect. But first, the 2025 WNBA Finals are now rolling along. And look, I realize here at The Dose, we don't always cover the WNBA as in-depth as some other sports shows might. But hey, this is the finals. This is the best of the best. This is the culmination of what all of the hard work, blood, sweat, tears, missed layups, and poor officiating has been about. This is the biggest stage where tens of fans are holding their breath to see if another sex toy ricochets off the floor. But so far, we haven't had any incidents. Now, hopefully these finals improve soon and we get some actual excitement, because so far there really hasn't been that much to watch. I wish I had better news, but I don't. Finally, in the NFL, we have some bizarre news, because former NFL quarterback and current, at least right now current, Fox Sports broadcaster Mark Sanchez was in Indianapolis this past weekend to cover the Colts game against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday. And it seems that Mr. Sanchez was arrested by the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department on Saturday. He is now facing 3 misdemeanor charges, and it sounds like they're going to turn into felony charges. This is all in relation to an incident where Sanchez was stabbed and then taken to a hospital. Well, the Indianapolis police said Sanchez was arrested at the hospital on suspicion of battery with injury, unlawful injury of a motor vehicle, and public intoxication. The detective on the case describes a bizarre scene in which the former NFL quarterback allegedly confronted a truck driver on the job. Sanchez, who is described by the victim as smelling of alcohol and having slurred speech, reportedly said he could only remember grabbing for a window during the incident when a detective took his statement. However, there was a witness on the scene and security footage from 2 different hotels which closely aligned with the alleged victim's recollection of what happened. That's what the police say. Now, the truck driver reportedly said he was doing his job and exchanging used cooking oil from the Westin Hotel when Mark Sanchez approached him and opened the door of his truck and got into the vehicle. That is allegedly when the situation became violent, because the driver sprayed Sanchez with pepper spray, but Sanchez kept pursuing him and striking him, leading to the driver brandishing a knife and stabbing Sanchez a few times with it. Sanchez eventually fled the scene and was found in a bar in critical condition. Both men were hospitalized, and Sanchez was formally charged with those misdemeanors, which, like I said, could be moved to a felony soon, they say. Hey, it's honestly a terrible story. Imagine being Mark Sanchez and the butt fumble not being your worst professional moment. But what could be going through Mark Sanchez's head? Yes, your playing career is over, but you are being paid to cover NFL games for Fox. That's not a bad gig. But here's the thing that I don't think people are realizing. I really believe Mark Sanchez would rather be pepper sprayed and then stabbed and then arrested over watching Raiders quarterback Geno Smith play one more game. And now that I think about it, yeah, I kind of get it. Well, let's jump into our latest Daly Dose Power Rankings, and let's start off with college football, where we saw a few more surprises take place this past week. The number 7 Penn State Nittany Lions went to UCLA to face a Bruins team that was 0-4 on the season and hadn't even led a game. Meanwhile, Penn State was coming off of that loss to Oregon last week. Hey, this is going to be a blowout. And then UCLA somehow dominates Penn State and hands Penn State head coach James Franklin the worst loss of his career. Who in the world saw that coming? And I know the Penn State faithful are talking about maybe we need to fire him. Be careful. Be careful. And one other thing we've got to throw out here. I know when things go bad, we blame the coach, fire the coach. I know here in Colorado, we're not getting that great of football collegiately. Fire the coach, fire the coach, fire the coach. Hey, remember, we're paying the players now. Do we start firing players soon? Because it kind of seems like they didn't do anything either. We weren't done. Florida Gators head coach Billy Napier has more lives than Jason Voorhees. And he proved that yet again by somehow getting his Gators to pull off the improbable upset of the number 9 Texas Longhorns in the Swamp on Saturday. Now, what do Penn State and Texas both have in common? Honestly. Unrealistic expectations and overrated quarterbacks. But right now, who would we rank here for the Daily Dose as our top 5 teams in the country? Telling you right now, it might not be who you think. At number 5, I would place the Texas A&M Aggies. A&M is now 5-0 after beating Mississippi State 31-9 on Saturday. And no, that's not a great test. But don't forget, A&M did also go into South Bend and scraped out a win over Notre Dame a few weeks ago. Quarterback Marcel Reed might be starting to get a little bit of Heisman attention. Hey, he's putting up some impressive numbers. He's got over 1,200 yards passing, 149 yards rushing, and 13 touchdowns. Here's where it gets interesting. Next up for A&M, yeah, those Florida Gators that just beat Texas in College Station. A&M, be careful. That should be an easy win for you. But again, Billy Napier, he keeps coming back from the dead, so I'm not sure. At number 4, I would place another SEC team, but maybe not the one that would first come to most of our minds. Because I would put Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss Rebels at number 4. Yes, we know Lane Kiffin teams, they can usually score big points. And this one is no different because they're averaging nearly 41 points a game behind quarterback Trinidad Chambliss and running back Kewan Lacey, who already has 8 touchdowns. But here's the difference. This Ole Miss team, they might be a little different because they can play some defense too. The Rebels had a bit of a defensive struggle 2 weeks ago when they faced number 4 LSU, and they managed to hold quarterback Garrett Nussmeier and the Tigers to just 19 points. Well, the Rebels host Washington State this Saturday. And don't ask me why. Why is that even on the schedule? And then we're going to find out how good Ole Miss is, because then they go to Athens to face number 10 Georgia the next week. I don't know if Ole Miss is worthy of this number 4 ranking, but we're going to find out very soon. At number 3 in our Daly Dose Power Rankings, I will place the Oregon Ducks, whose quarterback Dante Moore might actually be the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman right now. Moore already has more than 1,200 yards passing. He has 14 touchdowns, and the Ducks have a win over Penn State on the road in Happy Valley. And I know it doesn't look great now, but that was before the Nittany Lions had their spirit broken, right? Hey, head coach Dan Lanning, he's built a team up in Oregon that is tough in the trenches and skilled at the edges. The Ducks are good. Next up for Oregon, they're going to be facing the undefeated number 7 Indiana Hoosiers on Saturday in Eugene, Oregon. More on that game a little bit later, but the Ducks are our number 3 team. At number 2, we'll place another Big Ten team that is the consensus number 1 team in the land right now, and I will put the Ohio State Buckeyes at number 2. Hey, I like Ohio State a lot. This is not a slight. I picked Ohio State to win the national championship when we did our college football preview. The Buckeyes have been impressive. They rack up big numbers offensively. They're allowing just 5 points per game, the best points allowed in the country. Here's the only problem I have with Ohio State. They haven't really played anybody yet. Yes, they beat Texas. It doesn't look so great now, does it? So who else have they beaten? Grambling, Ohio, Washington, and I will give them a little credit for that. I think Washington is okay, and Minnesota. But that's not exactly a murderer's row. And the schedule is pretty soft all season, except for this week when they go to Champaign to face the number 17 Illinois Fighting Illini, and then, of course, their regular season finale at the Big House in Michigan. No question the Buckeyes are good. But that schedule is pretty soft, and so I'll make Ohio State number 2. So sorry, the Daly Dose number 1 team in college football right now has to be those Miami Hurricanes. The Canes opened the season by squeaking past number 6 Notre Dame. Then they curb stomped poor Bethune. Again, why is that on the schedule? And then blew out number 18 South Florida, followed by beating the Florida Gators. And this past week, they pasted the number 18 Florida State Seminoles, which obviously makes Miami the Florida State champs. Now, that schedule is going to light up a little bit because next up will be Louisville, Stanford, Syracuse, SMU. But I really believe Miami has been the most impressive team in college football this season. And now, yeah, I think they're going to coast to an ACC championship game, which almost guarantees them a spot in the college football playoff. Here at the Daly Dose, I've got Miami as our number 1 college football team in the country. Okay, let's go next to our Daly Dose Power Rankings in the NFL, which is also going to be really difficult because we know that in the NFL on any given Sunday, anyone can be beaten. And we saw that this last week because we no longer have any undefeated teams in the league. Hey, your margin for error is just so small. Everyone can play. You have an off week, there's a decent chance you're going to be getting sent home with a loss. So yes, I'm going to have some teams on our list that just got beat. But if they're playing next week on a neutral field, here is how I would rank the top 5 teams in the NFL. And at number 5, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 5. Because this goofy team is a perfect fit for goofy quarterback Baker Mayfield. No, he doesn't look great. No, he isn't big enough. But he just keeps making plays. The Bucs are now 4-1, and remember, they have mostly been without wide receivers Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So they could get better. Yes, the defense scares me at times. But they seem to come up with plays when they have to. And if they don't, Baker somehow comes up with something. Now, we are going to find out how good the Bucs are over the next few weeks. Because just in the next few weeks, they face the 49ers, the Lions, the Patriots, the Bills, and the Rams. So if Tampa doesn't belong here, we're going to find out soon. But I have Tampa at number 5. At number 4, I'm going to place a team that just a few weeks ago looked like they might be the number 1 team. But the Green Bay Packers have fallen back to earth over the past few weeks. Hey, the defense looks soft at times. The offense can be very inconsistent. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys put up 436 yards on that defense. And remember, they didn't have CeeDee Lamb in the lineup. The defense is pretty good against the run, but they have a hard time stopping the pass. Now, part of that is they don't always get a consistent pass rush. Part of that is the secondary isn't great. And then you add that to the fact that Jordan Love doesn't ever play good when I watch him. Yeah, you get some inconsistency. Now, I would still think the Packers should be a solid playoff team, but they need to shore a few things up. I have Green Bay at number 4. I'm going to drop the Buffalo Bills to number 3 today because obviously they lost to the New England Patriots on Sunday night. And they looked really sloppy in doing so. But the Bills still have quarterback Josh Allen, and as long as they have him, they're always going to have a chance to win any game that they play. But I do have some concerns about this team. For one, they're soft defensively up front. If they face a team that can run, but their passing game isn't great, then Buffalo will stack the box and beat you. If they face a team that can pass, but the running game isn't very strong, then they'll drop into coverage and give your passing game some problems. But if they face a team that can do both, hey, they're not that big up front. They can't just line up and shut you down. They have to kind of scheme, and it can be a problem. My other concern is they don't really have that many offensive weapons besides Josh Allen. The running game isn't great. And outside of tight end Dalton Kincaid and wide receiver Khalil Shakir, what else do they really have? Allen does a ton on his own, but hey, in the AFC, that might be enough. Josh Allen is about as modern day John Elway as I've seen. I have the Bills at number 3. I'm going to move the Philadelphia Eagles to the number 2 spot, and it isn't just because of their loss on Sunday to the Denver Broncos. No, it is because this team sometimes looks sloppy, but they still find ways to win, and it is very Chiefs-ish. I just think sometimes head coach Nick Sirianni, he outcoaches himself. On Sunday against the Broncos, the Eagles are up 17-3. Hey, it is time to go heavy, run Saquon Barkley right down Denver's throat. Instead, Barkley got 6 carries in the entire game. Total. I mean, Barkley's probably the best running back in the game. 6 carries? Meanwhile, they had Jalen Hurts throw the ball 38 times against a Denver defense that would rather you drop back and throw the ball. So Denver sacked Hurts 6 times and hit him 8. Now, maybe Sirianni is trying to pacify wide receiver A.J. Brown. Maybe he's trying to save Barkley for more important games. But you're not as good as you could be right now, and it's primarily because of your coaching. And that drops the Eagles to number 2 for me. Now again, maybe they're saving things for when it matters, but right now, the Eagles look sloppy, and the Eagles don't look like they really have a good plan. So I will place the Detroit Lions as the number 1 team in the NFL right now, but I won't feel great about it. The Lions have won 4 straight games, with the offense averaging just over 40 points per game during that stretch. Hey, the Lions offense is capable of scoring on literally any play. Between Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, they've got a ton of weapons, and quarterback Jared Goff is really good at spreading the wealth. But of course, that defense is average. They allow more than 22 points per game, and they really haven't played any great offenses just yet. They played Green Bay, and they got beat. And they played Chicago, Baltimore, who looks broken, Cleveland, who looks broken, and Cincinnati, who looks broken. So we need to see some more from the Lions. But right now, I would place the Detroit Lions as our number 1 team in the NFL. Hey, remember, you should be stopping by DailyDoseSports.com each week to see what new things we have going on over there. We have links to the podcast. We have links to new articles going up every week. And we have links to Daly Dose gear. Make sure you stop by DailyDoseSports.com. And remember, you can always email the podcast at DailyDoseSports@gmail.com. We have heard from some listeners lately, and it is always good to hear from you. So if you've got a comment, you've got a concern, make sure you drop that off. Okay, we will keep this brief, but we do also want to bring you our NFL bottom 5, because if there is one thing that the NFL has this year, it is some truly, truly awful teams. Here is the Daly Dose worst 5 teams in the NFL right now. Let's start off at number 28, where I will be honest, I didn't really expect this team to be here. But the Las Vegas Raiders are awful. You know, I really thought 92-year-old Pete Carroll would upgrade this team with quarterback Geno Smith, but right now, Geno has 9 interceptions in just 20 quarters of football. He's already been sacked 16 times. The Raiders opened the season with a win over the Patriots. Since then, they've been outscored 119-63. I mean, at this rate, Pete Carroll's going to retire at the bye week. The Raiders are number 28. At 29, I'm going to place a team that shouldn't be here. But I have the facts to prove that they belong. Because since quarterback Joe Burrow went out with an injury, the Cincinnati Bengals are absolute flaming hot garbage. Remember, Burrow played in the first 2 games. He got hurt in that second game. And the Bengals scraped out 2 close wins. Then down went Burrow. And since then, the Bengals have lost their 3 games by a combined score of 113-37. Backup quarterback Jake Browning now has 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, and head coach Zach Taylor is probably nervous every time he has to use his ID to buzz into the facility. The Bengals currently have the league's worst score differential at a -71. And now they went and made a trade with the Browns for Joe Flacco. Did you hear me? The Bengals think Joe Flacco is better than someone else. Hey, if you don't think the Bengals belong here, sorry to tell you, you're wrong. The Bengals are 29. At number 30, I will place the only team that still doesn't have a win this season. and that is the New York Jets, who are now 0-5. Why aren't they dead last? Well, for one, they have played a few decent teams, including the Bills, the Steelers, and the Buccaneers. And the Jets have lost 3 of their 5 games by a total of 10 points. The problem for the Jets is that they are one of the worst passing teams in the league. Quarterback Justin Fields hasn't thrown a single interception, but he also doesn't do much else except run, which means everyone can key on their running game. Hey, the Jets battle. They just aren't very good. I have the Jets at 29, and having said that, I fully expect them to give my Denver Broncos a problem on Sunday in London. Don't forget that game starts early in the morning. At number 31, I will place a team that I honestly thought might go 0-17 this year, but they somehow won a game on Sunday, and that is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans had a decent defense last year, and at times this year they can still get stops. But rookie Cam Ward, he's undoubtedly talented, no question. And he makes some throws that are truly special. And also, sometimes he makes decisions that must have Titans fans wondering if he really is the guy. Now, it doesn't help. He has no weapons. Or that head coach Brian Callahan is so bad that sometimes it seems like he's trying to torpedo Ward's career. But I have the Titans at number 31 because they're awful. And at number 32, I will place a team that I actually picked to squeak into the playoffs, but this past Sunday was so bad that this franchise should literally be investigated for point shaving. Because the Arizona Cardinals led those Tennessee Titans 21-3 on Sunday. With 12 minutes to play, Cards running back Amari DeMercado broke a 71-yard run for a touchdown that would put the Cards up 28-6, but he prematurely celebrated and fumbled the ball through the end zone. So the Titans drove for a touchdown. Now it's 28-12. With just over 4 minutes to play, Cam Ward threw an interception to end the game, but the Cardinals defensive back fumbled the ball back into the end zone, and the Titans recovered for another touchdown. Now it's 21-19. The Titans kick a field goal to end the game and seal the win. At one point, Cardinals quarterback Lil Kyler Murray had a shotgun snap hit him in the face, and he had to be checked for a concussion. I wish I were kidding. The Arizona Cardinals are my number 32 team, and honestly, at this point, they should be relegated to the Sun Belt. Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daily Dose, we need to get over to our Daily Dose Top 5. Hey, college football's most consequential game could be played in Big Ten country this next weekend. And when I say Big Ten country, I mean not really what Big Ten usually would mean to us, but Big Ten country as it is. Anyways, ESPN's College Game Day will be on the scene to take it in as the number 3 Oregon Ducks host the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers in a battle of top 10 ranked teams this coming Saturday. Of course, College Game Day is a pregame show broadcast by ESPN as part of the network's coverage of college football. It is shown on Saturday mornings during the college football season, and in its current form, the program is typically broadcast from the campus of a team hosting a featured game being played that day. Well, the show takes on like a festive tailgate party atmosphere because thousands of fans gather behind the broadcast set in view of the show's cameras. Fans bring flags, fans bring hand-painted signs, and the school's cheerleaders and mascots often join the celebration. Hey, crowds at College Game Day, they are known to be rowdy. But the show is primarily hosted by Reese Davis, who is joined by Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard, Nick Saban, Pat McAfee, and an invited guest, usually a celebrity. Okay, but does hosting College Game Day actually mean anything? Today, our Daily Dose Top 5 is counting down the schools that have hosted ESPN's College Game Day the most, and how those teams do when ESPN comes to town. We start off at number 5. And we go to a place that is known for having one of the loudest stadiums in the country. Because the Florida Gator fans pack Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, and those rowdy reptiles make a good amount of noise for the College Game Day crew, too. The Gators started with a 4-game winning streak after appearing for the first time back in '95, when quarterback Danny Werfel led them to a win over Florida State. Then they lost 4 games in a row And now Florida is back on a 5-game winning streak. Their most recent victory was in 2019 when they beat Auburn. Well, the Gators have now been on game day 13 times, and their record in those games is 9-4. Now, for the record, this coming Saturday, Oregon will be hosting their 13th game when they play Indiana. Their record when hosting, 9-3. So Indiana had better bring it. The Florida Gators come in at number 5 for now, but Oregon will be joining them this week. We go next to number 4. And we've got a team that actually is kind of average when college game day comes to town, despite the fact that this school is a national powerhouse. Because the LSU Tigers have won 5 national championships, and hey, they tailgate like no other. They send a ton of talent to the NFL, but when it comes to hosting college game day, well, it's been kind of a coin flip for LSU. The Tigers first appeared on the program back in '96 when they had running back Kevin Falk playing against Alabama and their running back, Sean Alexander. Well, the Tide rolled 26-0. And maybe it was a sign of things to come, because the Tigers have been on college game day 14 times. But they are actually just 7-7 when ESPN comes to town. I mean, you would think, with as much talent as they have, LSU would win more than they lose, but it's actually dead even. LSU comes in today at number 4. We arrive at number 3. And the very first game college game day ever appeared on was back in '93, and they did it for just one game in '93, when Florida State went to Notre Dame. Well, the next season in '94, it became a weekly thing. And in week 1, game day went back to Notre Dame, this time for a game against Michigan. But in week 4, the crew visited Ann Arbor, Michigan to see the number 5 Wolverines face Penn State. Well, Penn State quarterback Kerry Collins outdueled Michigan quarterback Todd Collins, and Michigan lost that game. But then it actually bounced back with a 6-game winning streak, and Michigan's actually pretty good when they host college game day. Michigan has now hosted college game day 15 times, and in those games, they are 11-4. That's not bad. Michigan comes in today at number 3. We reach number 2, and it is interesting because you might think this school would be number 1, because college game day went down to Birmingham on multiple occasions back in the 90s for rivalry games involving the Alabama Crimson Tide. But they actually didn't go to Tuscaloosa until the beginning of 2001, when Tyler Watts and Ahmad Galloway led the Tide against Corey Powell's Deshaun Foster and those UCLA Bruins. Well, the Bruins actually beat Alabama that day 20-17. And as you can probably guess, most of those game day trips involved what happened when Nick Saban was in Tuscaloosa. But Alabama has now hosted college game day 21 times, including this past week when they beat Vanderbilt. But Alabama's record isn't as good as you might think. In those 21 games, Alabama has gone just 12-9. Alabama comes in today at number 2. So we reach the number 1 school on our list today because no school has welcomed college game day on more occasions than The Ohio State University. The program headed to Columbus for the first time when the Stanley Jackson-led Buckeyes hosted Wally Richardson and Penn State back in '96, and this year they actually kicked off the season when they hosted game day for their opener against Texas. In all, Ohio State has hosted college game day 26 times, and hey, they're pretty good when they host. They now have a 20-6 record when ESPN is on campus. This Saturday, like I said, the college game day crew will be in Eugene, Oregon, as the Ducks will be hosting a very dangerous Indiana squad. But I'm telling you, Indiana had better be ready because Autzen Stadium will be rocking. Hey, next week on The Dose, we know the big dog favorites in the NFL and in college football, but we might have to dig a little bit deeper. Plus, we'll keep you up on those MLB playoffs and those WNBA finals as only we can, and any other sports news that might be coming out. We will make sure that you are covered on all of it. So be sure you check out The Dose, and be sure you let a friend know to do the same. I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for listening to the Daly Dose every week. Thank you for the emails, thank you for the texts, thank you for the tweets, but more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles with someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. Have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.